regardless of how safe we feel here on campus. So anyway, we've got a couple of announcements before we get started. Is Melissa here for SA? She's not here. She is here? No. All right, so we'll get started here. Anyway, we're going to hear from a few individuals today. We are going to hear from Miss Janelle Rogers, who is our Human Resources Director. And we're also going to hear from Mr. Matthew Agee, who heads up our campus safety. And we have two special guests with us that are here because of their desire to share their knowledge and their expertise on how we can be safe on campus. We have Mr. Ted O'Neill, who is our principal at our alternative school at Keene High. And also we have Chief Ronnie Potts, who is the Chief of Police at Keene Independent School District. So I want to just read a little bio for Chief Potts as we get started, and we'll get going. Currently, the Chief of Police at Keene ISD Police Department, Chief Potts has over 30 years' experience working with law enforcement agencies at the federal, state, and local levels, including 18 years in administration and management of police operational functions. Prior to him coming to Keene ISD, Chief Potts was assigned as a squad leader with the Round Rock Police Department SWAT team. Then after the attacks on 9/11, he worked with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Air Marshal Service, as a Federal Air Marshal team leader of domestic and international missions. He's a state-certified licensed law enforcement instructor of ALICE, which he will share with us today, and civilian response to active shooter events. So we are happy that he has decided that he has agreed to come to our campus so that he can share his vast knowledge of how we can be a safe campus. So let's pray as we get started. Father, we thank you so much for this assembly period. Lord, as we gather for this important topic in terms of campus and university life, Lord, we pray that the things that are said and the things that are discussed can be things that we can learn and the things that we can utilize to make our campus safe. Be with us now, Lord, as we open up assembly, and be with our presenters so that as they present to us this afternoon. Thank you, Lord, for giving us another day to just take a breath of this precious life that you have honored us with. Is our prayer in Jesus' name, amen. So the first few minutes, we're going to hear from Ms. Janelle Rogers and Mr. Matthew Agee.
Good afternoon, y'all. So some of you may or may not know me. I am the Director of Human Resources. I know I don't necessarily dress like one. That's intentional. Why am I here? I wanted to give you another opportunity to hear about campus safety and what your team is doing for you. I know that you got, during orientation, Matthew Agee came and he spoke with you really quick, but that was a long time ago, and wanted to take advantage of this time right now to reintroduce him to you and give him an opportunity to let you know what his role is, how he supports you, and some of the things that we have planned for this year to help keep you safe. So I'm going to turn it over to Matthew and let him do his thing.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Agee. I'm the Associate Director of Security for the university. I'm in charge of a few various things on campus: access controls, which is basically your card access or your locks on campus, and then the overall day-to-day campus security. We have several security cameras around campus. I won't point them all out to you, but I'm sure some of you have seen them around campus. We monitor those and add cameras when we feel like there's a need in an area, and we're always looking to expand our view on our security cameras. We also monitor day-to-day campus things and any crimes that are reported around the city of Keene and on campus. But if y'all don't report crimes or anything that's happening, like if you have a bike stolen, we don't know about it, there's nothing we can do to try and make sure or to try and prevent these things from happening. So it's important for our university body, if you have issues or something, feel free to contact campus security and let us know. That way we can work towards keeping these things from happening in the future and keeping our campus safe. One of the nice things about our campus is that we are in a small community, so we're relatively safe just because of our location. But it's a good idea to keep and be aware of your surroundings. At night, lock your doors. When you walk to your cars, be aware of your surroundings. Don't be texting. When you cross the street, pay attention to the street versus your cell phone and different things like that. Actually, if you're aware of your surroundings, they've had studies that have shown you can affect on whether or not you are a victim of the crime. Most criminals are opportunists. They want an easy opportunity to get what they want, and they want a high reward for a low risk. So if you're walking around with your face in your cell phone, you've just made yourself an easy target. Where if you have your cell phone in your pocket and you're walking around, you just made yourself a much more difficult target because they can't sneak up on you at that point. You're paying attention. So as far as safety on campus, just be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, report it. If something makes you feel uneasy, report it. And that way we can do our job and help keep y'all guys safe.
All right, thank you. In addition to that, we do have some things that are coming up this year. You may not see it, and it may be more visible to faculty and staff, but we are working hard this year to increase the safety for you, our students. If you ever have any questions, if you ever have any concerns, feel free to walk up to any of us at any time and let us know. But again, be aware, be smart, be safe. Thank you.
All right. Some of you guys might not know the infamous names of Klebold and Harris, but that's what was probably the starting point of all this. But now we are honored to have Chief Potts here as he presents to us on campus safety.
Thank you. Appreciate it. How are y'all doing today? Good. I want to let y'all know this is a very tough topic for anybody to discuss, okay? We want to have a safe educational environment for everybody to learn here. The problem is that because of the way society has changed over the years, and let me go back a little bit, in 1949, there was what was called then a killing spree. That was what is called a strategic strike. That was personal against specific people, and they targeted those people, okay? As time has changed over the years, it has turned into what is called now active shooters, okay? There were a lot of killing sprees in the 60s, some in the 70s, and then into the 80s. And then a lot of the people that have been around a while has heard about the going postal at the post office. That was in 86. 86, it was where an employee of the United States Post Office was laid off from his job, and he was very upset, and he went in and attacked several of his coworkers and supervisors. That's really when it started kicking off about the active shooter going in just mad at somebody and taking lives. Well, all the way through into the 90s, we were always trained specifically to surround a structure if there was an active threat inside. And the reason why we surrounded it was to set up a perimeter as law enforcement, and then we start negotiating with what their demands were. And when I say demands, people always wanted something. They either wanted, if it was an international threat, then they wanted prisoners somewhere freed. If it was domestic and they wanted money, then they would say, we need money. We'll let everybody go if you pay us X amount of dollars. And that's how we worked it. That's how we trained, was patrol would set up a perimeter, then we would respond as SWAT, and we would set up around that building and have a staging area for us, and then negotiations open, and they communicated with the hostage takers, and then the hostage takers gave their demands. But if anything started to break down communication-wise, then we were given the green light, and we would go into the building, and we would try to get the hostage taker to give up. A lot of cases, we ended up having to take their life. It's not our goal to kill. It's our goal to stop a threat, and that's what our pride and what we live for, is to stop that threat. It all changed in '99 when Columbine happened. In Columbine, all the police responded. They surrounded the structure, set up their perimeter in patrol, and then they called SWAT. SWAT's en route, negotiators are en route. And I remember watching it at Round Rock when I was there. I was on the SWAT team at that time. And we kept hearing shots from the live cameras that were at the school. They continued to shoot. Police were trained specifically to stay outside, set up the perimeter, so nobody had a plan about going in. So we're sitting there watching this live on TV saying they got to go in, and being a SWAT guy, I was like, they got to breach, which, take down the door and go after them. A lot of lives were lost that day. Those two guys specifically targeted any of the athletes. The ones wearing the baseball caps is who they went after. And it was so apparent that one of the kids in the library told him, he's thinking to himself that he's only shooting the guys with the baseball caps, any of the athletes. So he took his cap off and stuck it down his shirt, and they walked by him without shooting him. Okay? That's bullying at its worst. It's at its worst at that point. Okay? During that time frame, even in the 80s and 90s, the other side of it was, how are we going to safeguard our kids on drive-by shootings? And that began in LA. LA police were sitting there saying, man, we're having Crips, Bloods, Latin Kings driving by and shooting up schools, and our kids inside are dying, even from shrapnel, from glass, from the bullets going through. So the chief back then had come up with a plan to move desks under windows and put all of the students underneath the desk, okay? And what that did is their backs were against a brick wall, and if the bullets came through the window, the glass would shatter and fall on top of the desk, therefore not hurting any of the students. So that spread throughout the country, okay? With that in mind, how do you deal with a threat that actually enters the building, kind of mixed with Columbine? What do you do when they're inside, and what is your plan? Something we've been talking about, and even the staff here at SWAU, is that I've never believed, after watching Columbine live, to just have the kids sit there, get on the floor under a table, and wait for their demise. I've told my kids since they were itty-bitty, I don't care what, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I told them, don't worry about what the principals and the teachers tell you. You get out of the building and you go. You run, okay? It is very hard to hit a moving target. So when I came here to Keene, and Mr. Stevens, the superintendent, asked me, what do you suggest for us to do if we're not going to crawl under the desk? Because he didn't agree with it either. And I searched online for programs. We had Alert coming out about that time. Alice had come out. But Alice is, what I'm about to talk about here, is very specific about the fact that we don't want you sitting there under a desk feeling helpless. We want you to be able to rise and be able to make a decision. We want to empower you to make that decision, not be told by teachers, and I'm sorry if I'm offending teachers in here in any way, I'm not meaning to, but we got to change our philosophy today, all right? Now, there's two different things that we need to look at. Lockout and lockdown. Lockout is if there's a threat coming across campus and you're in your classrooms and you look through a window and you see a man coming towards your building with an AR, okay, a rifle, or a pistol, and you see him. Okay, our ultimate goal at that point is to lock him out. We want to secure doors from the entrance to be able to keep him out. That's a lockout. Now, if he gets there, and like what they've done in several of the schools, is that they shoot out the windows and they still get in. We call that a breach. They're breaching the school. Now they're an internal threat. Then it changes from lockout to an lockdown, and we call it ALICE lockdown. ALICE is an acronym for alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. All right, and it doesn't have to go in that order, but the key to this is that we got to have communication from you guys. If you see a threat, you need to alert us. You need to call 911. You need to notify people. You need to scream it to the tallest mountain that there's a threat coming. All right? We need everybody to know and y'all to begin to process so you don't do one of the 3 F's, which is freeze. We don't want you to freeze and you can't move. We don't want you just to go back to the old mentality, I got to get under a table. Do not freeze. We want you to flee, and we want you to fight if you have to. Now, I'm not saying if you're in one building and you see a guy going towards another building to pick up a chair and run down the stairs, go out the door, go over to the other building and attack him with the chair. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about if you're in a classroom and your door is breached into your classroom, and a guy comes in with a weapon, you have 2 choices. And we need some interaction here. What are the 2 choices you have at that point? Okay, fight or flight. What else? I heard it over here is survive. That's the key one. We're going to survive. We're going to have the confidence to attack if we have to. All right? But we're not going to settle for dying. And that's what we do at our school. At the high school and junior high level, we teach the kids, we're not hiding, we're fighting. We're going to survive this, no matter what it takes. Okay? So I want you to have that in your mind. I want you to start playing scenarios in your head as you're going to classes or you're going back to your dorms or you're going somewhere. If you're at a mall, always look. And I hope that everybody walked into this room, and I know most of you have, well, probably all of you have been here, but do you know where the exits are? Do you know where to go if that threat comes through those doors or if it comes through that door over there? You have to have a plan, even at the mall. All the time that I flew as a federal agent with the United States government, I was constantly looking at exits in the airports. I was looking for bags left by themselves by explosives. When I was in London and I had a trip over there, I went up to the lady at the table and said, hey, where do I throw my tray away? And where's your trash can? And she just started laughing at me. Why do you think she started laughing at me? They don't have trash cans available for people just to go up and throw your trash away. You have to give it over the counter. The reason why is because people are putting bombs in them in London. Same way in Paris when I was there. It was the same kind of situation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now here in America. What I saw over there 10, 15 years ago is coming here with the violence. Okay? Now, there has been explosives. When I was a detective, I worked cases, car bombing, but it was specific. It goes back to that strategic strike on one individual. But now there is nothing that these people that come into your school, and you ought to take that personal. You ought to be upset that they're going to mess with SWAU. This is your backyard. You should be mad about that. So they're coming into your school to cause damage and kill people for no reason except social media. It's all about social media. But see, what we're dealing with is they're changing now. They're learning from each other. They're setting off fire alarms to get people into the hallways so they have more targets. You guys have got to think about that. That's why at our school, what we do is we have a teacher step out, a 30-second check, basically back and forth down the hallway before the kids rush out of the room. We don't want them in the hallways. Okay? So those are things I want you to play scenarios at your dorms or at your classrooms, wherever you're at. So I'm going to play a video right now for you, and I want you to watch this, and we're going to have some Q&A, some question and answers that you all may have, and what do you do in these situations. And if you see somebody at a mall or at the campus, anywhere that you're at, and you can't be naive about it, and I'm not trying to cut you down, but you can't be quiet when you see something that makes the hair rise up on your neck. If something is bothering you, see it, and that hair just starts telling, man, something's just not right about this guy, you need to report it right then. This is a Christian community. We not only have to look out for the people that are just angry and mad and want to make social media just go crazy over them, we also got to look at some of the other international threats of other people, Al-Qaeda, things like that, that may go against our Christian beliefs. So you got to have your eyes wide open all the time, and you have to look and say, this is bothering me. So if you don't mind, can we play this video right quick, and then we'll have some questions.
I want you to stay in the line with me. We need to know what's going on.
Okay.
Okay?
I am on the floor.
Okay. And you've got the kids
in the
there.
library, and I've got every student in this library on the floor, and you better stay on the floor.
Is there any way you can lock the doors?
Smoke is coming in from out there, and I'm a little afraid. The gun is right outside the library door.
This is Columbine.
I don't think I'm going to go out there.
Okay, you're at Columbine High School.
I got 3 children.
Okay, we got it.
Okay? I'm not going to go to the door to shut the door, okay? I've got the kids on the floor.
There's somebody downstairs with a gun. Somebody just got shot.
Somebody get the bell. Watch out, watch out.
There's someone at Keene State University. Like, there's somebody with a gun downstairs.
Okay, you said there's a shooting in Nichols Hall. Can you actively hear gunshots?
He was downstairs in the lobby. He shot somebody.
Can you describe what the shooter looks like?
White male. He had a big coat, black or blue. He had facial hair. I don't know what way he went.
White male, okay.
I ran upstairs. We're in the classroom right now. We have an instructor with us. We barricaded the door.
Okay, can you stay on the line while I get officers en route?
Yeah.
State Tall units, can I have you en route to Nichols Hall for shots fired?
Suspect is description is a white male with facial hair, black jacket, black pants. Last known location was in the lobby. Repeat, Nichols Hall for shots fired.
Okay, and what is your current location?
Upstairs in 301.
I'm gonna ask that you stay on the line with me. I have officers en route. And continue to barricade your space and be prepared to defend yourself if necessary.
Go get help! Somebody get help!
Hold on, help's on the way.
Go! Get help! Check the spot.
What you've just seen is a proactive approach to survival in a violent intruder situation. Traditional response to violent intruder events has focused primarily on lockdown-only principles. Analysis of past events has taught us that survival may depend on utilizing several options to include, but not limited to, lockdown. Under stress, we default to our level of training. We must train our brains to react to various crisis events, allowing us to respond proactively and increasing our chances for survival. The shooter has a plan, you should too. This training will aid you in developing that plan. ALICE is a concept which allows those who find themselves in deadly situations the opportunity to make informed decisions about how they respond to that event, given the available information. ALICE is an acronym to help you remember what to do. Your response may or may not occur in the order listed, and all options might not be necessary for every event. Keep in mind, each person or group will respond differently given their proximity to the crisis, and responses may change during the duration of the event. Alert. If you are in a safe place, use any means available to alert the police. Stay on the line if at all possible. Give clear and accurate information about the location, suspect, weapons, and injuries. Alert others of the danger if possible, again using any means available to you. Lockdown. Lockdown is still an integral aspect of active shooter response. If you are in an area that can be secured, do so. Lock the door if possible and use other means to barricade and secure the door. Stay clear of windows and silence phones. Even if the door is secured and barricaded, make a plan on how you will respond if the shooter makes entry into your area, and be ready to attack if necessary. Inform. Continue to share information with the police, those around you, and others throughout the entirety of the event. Information is fluid, and your response must be as well. Counter. If you come in contact with the shooter and you cannot escape, make yourself a hard target. Move, react, throw objects. Do not become static and passive. Improvise defense. Use anything and everything to distract or disable the shooter. If possible, employ multiple people to swarm, secure, and disarm the attacker. Put the weapon in a trash can or out of sight. When the police arrive, they do not want to misidentify who the shooter is. Remember, if you encounter a shooter, it will be a fight for survival. Don't hesitate. Most active shooters are not expecting resistance. Evacuate. If there is any safe way out of the room and building, use it to escape. The goal in any crisis situation is to remove yourself from it and create as much distance as possible. Know your surroundings, exits, escape points. Don't use your car to evacuate. You do not want to cause traffic jams that prevent police from getting to the site. The most important message to remember is, do something. Your goal is to survive by any means necessary. Train your brain and be proactive about your survival.
So with that, can you turn me? All right, can you all hear me? All right, so with that in mind, I know there was some snickers. I heard that a little while ago when the officers are going through the hallway and they tell the person that's down, help will be with you in a minute. Why do you think that they did that? Say it. They're going after the shooter, okay? It's not that we're trying to be rude. We're not trying to just, okay, well, sorry, we're moving on. No, we're going after that threat to stop the threat from hurting anybody else. We'll have medical coming to you, and now we're retraining the way that we used to do it to where after, like if I show up here first and I hear there's a threat at your school, it's going to come across my radio too, so I'm coming from ISD to get over here. Keene will come as well, and we're going to go in to find that threat and stop him. We'll have the next two officers that show up at the scene that will come in and they will cover EMS and fire, because what we're learning about is that a lot of these shootings, people are bleeding to death. So we want to cut that time down to get medical on scene and inside the building. They'll come into what we call a warm zone, and that warm zone it's still hot because we're still going after the threat, but they come in the same doors that we've already cleared with fire and EMS to start treating that medical concern, okay? The other one that they had in there was it specifically talked about the picking up the gun. What they were doing with that guy was called a swarm. As soon as he came in, they saw it was a threat, they attacked him. Most shooters are scared to death for anybody to confront them. They have their mindset on what they're there to do. And we want to disrupt that. If we go after them en masse, and we've done this, we have trained this in SWAT, we have trained this at our school, me and Mr. O'Neill, even with staff members. And even me being on SWAT, and even a Dallas SWAT guy that we train with, actually engaged trying to hit people when he's being swarmed, and he got some arms and maybe some legs, but he never got any vital organs. So disruption of the person that is shooting, it takes a lot for me to pull a weapon and point at a target and engage that target. It all requires breathing, control, smooth trigger pull. If he's getting a MacBook or a coffee cup or a shoe upside the head, you're constantly rebooting his brain, and he can't focus on getting that smooth trigger pull. So the goal is to disrupt that. We call it the OODA loop, okay? If you're hitting him with something and then running, because your goal is to get out. Don't stay there and fight this guy. I mean, and if he's right there and there's 5 of you on top of him, hold him down. But don't pick the gun up and say, okay, I got him, y'all can get off of him. Because what's going to happen? The police are going to come walking in, see a student with a gun in their hand and think you're the shooter. That's why we say put it in the trash can. And I mean, if you have to leave because there may be multiple suspects, take the trash can with you. Don't pull the gun out and run down the hall. Carry the cops will be like, why are they carrying a trash can? Okay, well, that's because the gun's in here. Okay, so don't carry it. All right, so I'll answer some questions. I know y'all got to get back, so what questions do we have? And don't be shy, because, man, this is like, it's happening all across this country. You need to go ahead and ask me something. Anybody? Go ahead. You do whatever you feel that you have to do to stop that threat from hurting anybody else. Because if he starts hurting you and gets away from you, he's going to try to get to that trash can. Because that's the only thing, because those are like the worst bullies. They cannot handle confrontation. So they're going to try to have the upper hand. But no, you do whatever you have to do to stop that threat. And you know what? You'll get a medal for it. I had a 6th grader ask me, if I throw a pair of scissors and stab him in the throat on accident, what happens to me? And I said, you get an award. That's what we do. Okay? It's not personal. We got to survive. And I know it sounds horrible, and why am I telling 6th graders that? Because somebody has to. It's real now. Yes, sir. It does. It does. When I was with the government, they made us, and I'm going to tell you a little top secret information here from the United States government. They made me stand and another guy stand, and all the other air marshals on my team were on the sides watching us as we pulled simunitions, as you can see the scars, but that's actually like paintball on steroids, because it's a real bullet that has paint that comes out, and it hurts. But we had to sit there in a T-shirt, not coats or any kind of, because you got to feel it. You got to fight through that shot. And we drew 7 paces away from each other and unloaded 15 rounds from our gun into each other with that paintballs. And I had to take them as they're hitting me and still stay on target. All right? It still is very hard. And we're trained. I've been doing this 30 years, spent 10 years on SWAT and a federal agent for 10. And it still is hard to hit where you're pointing when you're getting anything hitting you. Trust me. A MacBook or a computer upside the head, he's going to have a hard time focusing on what he's going to be doing. And I'm not advocating any kind of violence here. I'm not trying to tell you all that. And I'm not saying run out this door and go attack the guy. I'm saying if he is in your space and he's between you and that door, you got to do something to live. Okay? And that's all I'm saying. Hope I'm not upsetting anybody on that, but I just want to be real on it. So, what other questions? Come on, I know y'all have some. Yes, ma'am. Well, it's not going to be because we have enough witnesses to say. Even when I print a weapon or any of that, I'll bring you in or whoever was in that room and make sure that I identify every one of your prints. But you're in the class, you're a victim, you're clearly trying to stay alive, and nowadays with the way that things are going, they're not going to say anything. You're not going to have any problem with that. I mean, I would still reward you because, wow, you stood up to this guy or girl, because there are girl shooters too. Yes, ma'am.
For example, if something happens like that on this campus, how do you get word to another building to notify them that like a shooter is coming?
Well, that's one thing we're working with staff is we got to figure out a way. I don't know how the system works here. He could probably answer that for you. But there's got to be some way to communicate. I don't know if, do y'all have like a PA system or anything that announces across to the other buildings? Do you have anything like that? Okay, so what we're looking at, I mean, and hey guys, think about this. I know everybody's going, wow, why don't we? Okay, it's going to take time to change the way we live. You know, I remember talking to my grandparents and my parents about having to crawl under a desk because of a nuclear attack back in their day. And it evolved to what we're dealing with today. A nuclear attack back then under a desk is really not going to help. But it's something instead of doing nothing, okay? So PAs may be coming. The other thing that I want everybody to know about is when you evacuate, and that's the ultimate goal here, is to get out. Get away from that threat. Don't stay and fight unless you just have to. We want you to evacuate. There's going to be a couple of designated rally points that you're going to be assigned to go to. One, I think, would be the police department across the street. That's a big one because you're running to the police and fire and EMS, which is right there. They can also treat anybody that's injured. So I would probably say that the school will adopt that one as a rally point. The rally point is specific to you evacuating, going to a safe zone, because in all of the statistics that have taken place on these active shooters, not a single one of them have chased the kids. They haven't chased anybody out of the building. So we're going to go with that statistic and say, run somewhere safe, okay? Now, if he does and he breaks the rules of what we've seen, which is probably going to happen in the future because they learn from each other, if they do that, then you run further and you keep going until he's either tired because you're running for your life, literally. So, but that's the ultimate goal. They're going to designate some rally points for y'all to go to. Then what we do when you get there is staff will identify everybody that's there at that rally point and make sure that we've got everybody. Because if somebody was actually injured trying to get to it, we need to go find that person that's injured. You see what I'm saying? So we have to have a place for y'all to go to check in and say, I'm here. And I don't care if you run 6 blocks down, 2 blocks over, and 3 blocks up to get to that, just make sure you get there. What else? Yes?
Should we evacuate the wounded with us while we're evacuating?
Say that again, sorry.
I'm under the assumption that we should take the wounded with us while leaving the building, or should we leave them where they are, assuming...
Okay, that's the hardest thing that anybody's going to have to deal with. If you, am I out of time? I don't want to keep everybody. Are we good? If you have a friend that is injured, okay, and they can still walk, then help them the best you can, okay? I mean, if they're down and you can't lift their body weight and still run, it's so hard to say this, but you've got to go. You cannot stay because then you're going to become a victim too. It's the hardest thing to think about. It's like me being a police officer. I've been in shootings, and I've had people hurt, and we got to try to pull them to safety while somebody else covers. Y'all wouldn't have that opportunity. I don't want you to become a victim by trying to save somebody else, okay? And that's just something you got to think about, all right? That's going to have to be up to you. That's why we're empowering you to make these decisions. That way you're not stuck doing whatever somebody else is telling you to do, which could end up causing your demise. So we don't want that. The other thing is the hardest part of what happened in Parkland with Nicholas Cruz at Stoneman High School was the fact that people wanted in a room because they were stuck in the hallway. If you open that door to let your friend in, who's to say he's not standing where you can't see him, pointing a gun at him, saying, tell him to open the door? And now you open the door and you just let him into all of y'all. And Parkland did that. I'm not ragging on them. It is horrible what happened down there. But they did open the door, and then the teacher was shot immediately. And then he got into the room. Okay? You're going to have to make that decision. You're going to have to know that on the other side of that door, if you open it, the shooter could be holding them hostage, telling them to make you open the door. Because it's all about kill on his part. Yes, sir? That's going to be up to the school. I mean, there are some campuses that have adopted that, but that's going to have to be up to SWAU on how they're going to handle it. I'm telling you, if something happens here, I'm coming, Keene's coming, Johnson County's coming to help. Yes?
If a student gets out first, one of the first people out, and he has a gun? If there's a student who gets out first and he has a gun in his car or something, should he get that gun and try to meet the shooter?
You know, the bad thing is that if I round that corner and that person's going back towards the school with the gun, I don't know who you are. That's the only thing. That's why I'm saying get away from this situation, and I know you want to help your friends, your girlfriend, whatever the case is, you want to help, but it could end up being that they think that you're the one that's actually shooting. Chances are they're going to, hopefully, I mean, it depends on the officer individually. If they're in fear and they feel like this is an immediate threat, they'll be yelling, police, drop it, and hopefully with the tunnel vision and the adrenaline dumping in both of you, you can comprehend that. But I would be very cautious about going back and getting it. Sutherland Springs, the people across the street from the church that was shot up down there and all those people died, there was actually people living across the street that heard the gunshots, and I believe that they're one of them that shot him. They know he went down after they fired, and then he got in the car and drove away, okay? But here's the thing I want to also bring up. When they said don't drive away, don't say, I'm out of here, I'm going to Kentucky, because you're like freaking out. Don't do that, because if I'm driving up and I see a car speeding away, you're going to draw police to you thinking that you're the one that's the shooter. And then nobody inside's getting help. So we don't want you leaving. We just want you running, get to safety, and we can account for your safety and make sure you're good. Okay? What else? Anybody? If y'all ever have any questions, you can call me at the school district. The Keene guys are training with us on a lot of this. We've actually trained together on active shooter threats in the city, and they have the same plan that I do. We don't wait on 4. I know in Parkland, everybody was disappointed in law enforcement about the deputy not going in, and I'm horrified that he didn't. But we're all not that guy, okay? That he should have went in. Unfortunately, he didn't. But we're not, if it's one of us, if I show up here first, I'm going in the building that wherever that threat is. We're not going to wait for extra people. We don't do that anymore. Yes, sir? I'm not waiting. You know, that's the thing is, even in Parkland, the sad part about that one is their camera system was 20-minute delays. So they were about to storm the 3rd floor, and he was already at Mickey D's eating. So, because it was a 20-minute delay. With that in mind, what you're saying is that people that were off duty, I mean, even if I'm at home and it comes across my radio that there's a problem, I'll be in sweatpants and come up there. Okay, but I'm going to be yelling police. You know, I'll be doing as best I can and hope that I don't get shot. But if I have to take one for the team, I'm there. You know, because we're going to try to stop this person. But you're going to have to look at him and say, hey, it's that short, fat guy. I remember him. He talked. He's coming to help us, okay? You know? So just remember that, because it makes it easier that, you know your fellow officers in the community. But here's the thing. A DPS trooper could be driving by and hear the call. A Johnson County deputy can come by and hear the call, and they're going to show up, okay? So you may not know who it is, but if they're handling themselves, and wow, that guy is definitely a cop, you know it's a cop, you know, walks like a duck, and yeah, all of that. All right, anybody else? Oh, yes, sir. Can't see over there. I'm sorry, I barely can see. Okay, here's the thing. 98% of the time, and here we go back to the statistics, 98% of the time, it's been one shooter. We're going to have to roll the dice on that one and pray that it's one. There has been multiple, okay? Columbine is a perfect example. We don't know until we have to engage that. But 98% of the time, it's been a lone gunman on their own suicide mission. And in some cases now, they don't even want to die from it, like Nicholas Cruz and the guy at Santa Fe. They want to see them grow in popularity in social media, okay? So they're actually now not taking their own life or waiting for police to do it. They want to survive. Nicholas Cruz dumped all of his weapons into the stairwell, went to Walmart, got him a soda, and then went to Mickey D's and ate lunch, and then went home and got caught in the neighborhood because of the clothing, okay? So we don't know. I mean, there's no telling. But the key is that if you're with your other classmates, talk to each other, learn about each other, listen to each other, look for people that are having a bad day, look for people that are failing their class and they can't stand it because they're going to have to call mom and dad and say, I think I'm going to fail, and they get distraught and upset and they decide that they're going to be that guy or girl. You got to watch your friends, your fellow classmates. You don't know what they're going through. They could have had a breakup that broke their heart and they want to get even. You got to monitor your friends. Look at people that are sweating profusely and they have sweaty hands when you shake hands with them, or they got that mild stare where their eyes are huge and they're looking around like, where is she or he? And they go after that person. Any of those kind of situations, and you know that Mary's never like that, or Fred's not like, whoever, is not like that, you identify, man, I need to go talk to staff and get some help for them, because there may be something personal in their life, a loss of a family member that they need help with, and we don't want them to go to the next level and lose their marbles, So let's help each other and always identify if somebody's in need of help, ask for it, ask them. Are we good? I know y'all got to go back to class, so.
Thank you very much, Chief Potts. Mr. O'Neill, a hand. He's always willing to answer questions, and he's always available. I know that for a fact because I call him all the time.
Yeah.
But he is available, and he wants us to be able to be safe on our campus. So everyone have a wonderful afternoon, and if you want to stick around and ask him some questions, I'm sure he'd be willing to stay here for a bit. Thank you, everyone.